When governments around the world asked artificial intelligence to help them stop the end of the world, the answer they got shocked them. It was revealed to them that it was impossible, that it had already begun, and the only thing that could be done is predict who comes out on the other side of it in control. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Many people are looking at the decisions of governments around the world, whether they be Great Britain, the United States, Russia, as if these people have lost their mind. Well, they haven't. They're simply following what the AI has told them is the case. And in every single instance, we can see a specific result. In today's video, we're going to reveal this for you. We're going to walk through this idea of the end of the world. Because truly, the world has ended multiple times before. Just ask the Romans. Just ask the Egyptians. Even as recent as a few hundred years ago, nobody could have envisioned a world where Great Britain wasn't in charge, or a king or queen of Europe. But now, look where we are. So many things have transpired. I don't think a lot of people have a real grasp of what the future holds. Regardless of what Hollywood may tell you, we have seen over the last 15 to 20 years these Pollyanna notions of what the post-zombie apocalypse will look like. Roving bands of people and large groups of sick and dying and decaying, and just going from one campfire to the next, where we just learn how to be a little bit better and how to restore things back to the way they were. Let me ask you guys a question, an honest question. Has this ever happened in the history of mankind? When the Roman Empire fell, was it restored to anything like what it was before? No. What about the British Empire? No. This country, the same thing. There's not going to be any going back to the good old days of the way things were. Regardless of the Pollyanna notions people have of going off into the forest and tactically camping, taking their MREs and just waiting for everything to be brought back to what, the 1980s, the 1960s, the 1940s? You know, which era is it that you believe would make America great again? Some people have consigned themselves that, well, I'm just going to be a loner, just going to exist by myself and until the end, no matter what it is. And they've romanticized this. It's absolutely insane. Nobody has ever existed this way, long term, for any amount of time in the history of ever. Some people believe this is going to save them. I don't care how many supplies you have, they're either going to go bad or they're going to run out, or what the most likely outcome is, somebody's going to come take them from you. And that's what we talk about over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel today. As promised, brand new video posted just about an hour or two ago. And fair warning, it's going to probably hurt some feelings because it talks about a specific tactic and a specific technique that they are going to use to disarm you. They are going to use this tactic, and it works every time it's tried. And you will willingly hand over your weapons, hand over your ammunition. Now, I know a lot of people are out there shaking their head, and they're already typing cold dead fingers, all this stuff. That's never been the case, has it? That's never, show me one time in history that that's ever been the case. There's a logic argument that a lot of people miss when it comes to certain weapons, and the logic is you have two hands and one set of eyes. Now, that is as far as I'm going to go. I don't want to reveal what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. That's for those of you who have stepped up over at the Patreon channel, where it's only one US dollar per month. Even less if you sign up for an entire year, fully refundable. First 90 days, no questions asked. This tactic, this technique has worked every time it has been tried throughout history, bar none. And there's no resisting it. There's only planning for it. That's all you can do. Because it goes to the logic of why you want the weapon in the first place. And when that particular thing goes away, when that connection goes away between the reason you want the weapon and the reason you're keeping the weapon, then it's easy for them to just come and take them. It's just that simple. Now, busy like Christmas. Gun store says sales surging after NC pistol permit requirement eliminated. 12 April 2023. What happens when the demand for something goes up? Supply and demand. When the demand for something goes up, the supply of it does what? Goes down. Of course, making the price of it go up. That's right. So the counterintuitive idea about weapons is that if you want to get rid of them, if you want them out of the hands of people, make them insanely expensive. Make them incredibly lucrative to sell for dollars. And that's going to be something a lot of gun people are like, wait a minute, wait. So yeah, guns are becoming more popular. And so because they're more popular, more people want them. And because more people want them, they're more expensive. And because they're more expensive, people, the used prices, used guns, are going for massive amounts of cash, which has the net effect of fewer sales to people and more people selling back to the government or back to gun stores, which is what they want. You see, here was January. Gun companies reckon with declining demand after pandemic surge. And you should see how much they've fallen. Let's see, where was the number here? Is American Outdoor Brands, Vista Outdoor, reported weaker sales. Shooting category of late, Sturm Ruger and Company, the largest publicly traded gun maker in the U.S., by market value, reported a 28% year-over-year drop in net sales for the fiscal third quarter, reporting $139.4 million, down from $178. These decreases are attributable to decreased commuter demand for firearms from the unprecedented levels of the surge that began in 2020. Now, as you can see, here was prior to, here was 2020, and they're coming down precipitously. But this is going to be the game. This is going to be the game. It's going to be guns versus cash, guns versus food, guns versus rent, guns versus all sorts of things. Pay attention to sedan. People have said, Florida Maquis, the end's coming here. Things are going to be chaos. Things are going to fall apart. Okay, let's watch. Let's watch. You see, nobody watched Venezuela when the U.S. went down there and destroyed their economy. And that's what happened. It wasn't socialism. The U.S. went down there and, with their buddies, the Colombians, decided to denude their currency from that country and then dump it all back in, and then use a fake exchange rate with a parallel dollar to destroy the value of the bolivar. And then ban pretty much all of their allies in the world from even selling anything to Venezuela. Venezuela survived. But those first couple of years, 2014, 2015, when things got bad, what happened down there? What was the first things that people did? The cost is crazy fighting in Sudan, sends food prices soaring. See, they'll do anything down there now to get their hands on just the very basic necessities. This guy says, I haven't sold anything since 6 a.m. today. A vegetable seller at Omdurman's open-air market, as fighting between the Sudanese army and rapid support forces raged a few miles away. There are no people buying. He faced two problems: lack of customers and an inability on the part of those who did come to pay what he had to charge just to cover his costs. His costs increased sharply since violence broke out. Fuel costs have soared, affecting the prices of all commodities. He used to pay, now I'm not sure what this is in US dollars, but basically you can see the number goes from 1,500 Sudanese pounds for transportation to 10,000 to transport the same amount of vegetables, point A to point B. Only half of the places were open. Kilo of beef up from, well, it's over 100%. Kilo of tomatoes, $3.30. That's 1,000%, 330 to 3,000. Small bag of onions, almost double. 6,000 to 10,000 for sugar. That's what's going to happen here. This is exactly what's going to happen here. And here's what they're going to do. Grocery store gift cards. See, this is from Saturday, October 1, 2022. Not very long ago. People think, oh, nobody's going to be that dumb. Nobody's going to hand over their weapons just for grocery store stuff, really? Here's their results. 1,973 handguns and revolvers, 1,142 shotguns, 1,025 rifles, and 129 what they classify as assault weapons. And if you want to know what that looks like, that's a portion of the table. And that's just New Jersey, and that's just since October. I want you guys to look at this real close. Just in New Jersey, just since October, handed over for food. You'll zoom in a little closer. Handed over for food. This is what's happening. And things haven't even really gotten all that bad yet, have they? I mean, yeah, prices are up at the grocery store and everything costs a lot more and you don't have as much to do with as you used to. I mean, some people are getting to be in some pretty bad and tough straits. But this is something that a lot of people said, I'd never do. Well, let's count those numbers one more time. Just since October of last year, that's when it started. 1,973 handguns and revolvers, 1,142 shotguns, 1,025 rifles, and 129 assault weapons in New Jersey. That's just in New Jersey. Now, New Jersey is basically a client state of New York. This isn't some place that you would think would be having huge issues of people not having enough money for food. But yet, this is what we see. Sure, a lot of people are like, wow, look at that. Seriously, look at that. And that's not even what looks like the whole table. This is what they're going to do. And this is not the entire tactic, believe me. This is just the beginning of the tactic. They got a whole suite of things planned. And where did they get it? AI. Because AI can see carnal, fleshly, tangible goals of people. And it can make plans to manipulate, to change values, to change what people want. Because it can look through all of the history of this country, even going back to the 1920s and 30s, and how wildly different the values were of the people of North America, 1920, 1930 versus 2020, 2030. Night and day. Night and day difference. Forget 1820, 1830, or 1720. So we think we have all this in common with the founding fathers. You're delusional. 50 years from now, 100 years from now, they're going to look at us like we were a bunch of backward savages. And kind of like we look at, people from the 1800s. We see a lot of things that we may admire, but we also see things, especially when it comes to, well, I guess the easiest way to talk about it on YouTube is age of consent to certain things, certain activities. If you looked at how it was perceived back then by moral Christian people, your jaw would hit the floor, especially when it came to marriage and babies. and what was right and what was wrong. So if we can't even somehow resolve in our minds how we can have anything in common with them, we have absolutely no chance of trying to outthink or outplan or out scheme an AI that can look at every single event that happened in 1632 and compare it to every single event that happened in 1248, every single event that ever happened in all of humanity in 1936, 1994, and put it all together and see patterns and see things that we could never hope to. It's likely seen patterns reemerge and go away and emerge again, and has been able to say, hey, here's how we do this. We burn this down. We lift this up. We do this. We do that. And then these people end up in power. And that's what's happening. So I will leave it there. But if you like the real deal, read in on what they're going to specifically do to get you to hand over your weapons. Join us. It's only $1. It's only $1 per month. That's it. And like I said, you'll have not only access to the most recent video, all the videos from this year, all the videos from last year, you'll have enough content to watch for hours and hours and hours for that $1. And you can peruse it all over the next 3 months. And if it's not for you, fully refundable. No questions asked. If you want to pay less than $1 a month, sign up for an entire year. For 12 months, it's even less than $11. So you won't find a better deal. Why is it that low? I want everybody to have access to the information. It's critical. It truly is. God bless. And of course, it's not appropriate for YouTube. That's why it has to be at Patreon. So we'll leave it there. God bless. Have a great weekend. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.